I love her accent. I love her accent. When she says Chair Rando, it sounds so regal. We are like, okay. Thank you, Michael. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm going to call to order the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority Governance and Personnel Committee for November 12th, 2020. First thing we're going to do is I need it's actually an action item, a motion to conduct the meeting to conduct the virtual meeting via the resolution that's in you all's package. So do I have a motion to conduct the virtual meeting?
Move approval of the resolution, Madam Chair.
Any seconds?
Second.
Okay, anybody oppose? All right, then I will say that motion will pass 401 with Mr. McKay not being with us this evening. If any, yeah, I'm still getting a lot of background and I'm plugged in.
Sounds like an airplane. Maybe you actually are at an airport, Phil.
Is everybody muted? I'm not sure everybody's muted.
Oh, okay, somebody wasn't. There we go. All right. And next we want to have approval of the minutes from October 8th. Has everyone been able to reach your meetings over?
I think the noise is you, Phyllis.
Really? You know what? I'm going to try unplugging myself and see if it's better, okay?
All right.
Is that better?
No, so I show the host is being highlighted.
Who's the host?
I am.
Yeah, are you muted? Because oh, yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm muted now. Sorry, Clarendo.
Okay, thank you. All right, there we go. Yeah, there we go. That's better. So if everyone saw the minutes from the meeting on October 8th, which feels like it was 6 months ago, doesn't it? October 8th, just like it was a long, long time ago, because a lot has happened since October 8th. Do I have approval of the minutes from October 8th?
So
Need a
moved.
motion?
So
So
moved.
moved by Ms. Wheeler. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wilson. Any discussion on that? Ms. Crystal, you look perplexed.
That's just my thinking and paying attention face.
That's your thinking face? That was your thinking face? All right.
It's possible I need stronger glasses.
All right. Is anyone opposed to the minutes, the approval of the minutes? Okay, again, that will pass 401, Mr. McKay being not in here this evening. Okay, we're going to talk about the General Assembly session, the 2021 session. I was just saying to Ms. Baynard, the 2021 session is going to be shorter than the special session that we just had that lasted longer than a long session. So we're going to have that discussion right now. So Ms. Baynard, I return it over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair Randall. Everyone, as you know, we're quickly heading into the 2021 General Assembly session. I will say, coming out of the special, we really don't have a clear picture of what definitely will be discussed. We're starting to hear members talk about some issues or hear other organizations. I'm hearing, broadband access and affordability, education issues, both K-12 and higher ed, particularly on a response to the COVID. But we're not hearing a lot or not hearing a big transportation initiative, which I think would be great. We've had back-to-back big transportation discussions in the General Assembly. So it might be nice to kind of take a year off and let everything settle and move forward. But from the authority's perspective, I know that we continue to want to remind the decision makers in Richmond that we are still owed around $32 million to bring us back to pre-2018 dedicated revenue levels. Our principle of that is that, again, when we get our replacement funding, we'd like a substantial amount of that to be coming from statewide revenue, similar to what we were able to secure in 2020 with the $20 million of the Commonwealth Transportation Fund. So in light of that, again, given the other constraints that are going to happen with the Commonwealth from a fiscal standpoint, we're not making a big push in the 2021 General Assembly for replacement funds, but we are certainly, through the long version and the shorter version of our priorities, are going to remind members not only of the good work that the authority has been doing, again, an organization they created, but that our region continues to need additional funding. So in the document that you were sent, what we've done is in yellow is really what I would call in the preamble or the part about under section, sorry, let me go back a page, make sure I have the right reference. Item 1 on a restore long-term funding to the authority. We've just added some update language that's in yellow regarding what happened in the 2020 session. And then of course, noting that there's about $32 million. And again, Mike and the finance team continue to look at that number as we really try to keep figuring out what's going on with the interstate funding via I-81. The second item, protect our dedicated revenue sources and powers. Again, something we discussed at our last meeting of the GPC. And it's not, again, not just to get our replacement funds, but not lose what ground we have gained so far, and just making very clear about that. And then item number 3 is another one that we've discussed before. Council member Crystal will be very familiar with this because the NVTC's discussed this a lot, is that the budget language that we've all supported and were successful in getting that allows us all to have these public business meetings virtually during the pandemic, there seems to be a acceptance that we need to move forward and go ahead and put that language in code so it's permanently there. It looks like there's legislation being drafted that would do that, and we would just lend our voice in support of that. The feeling is that the FOIA Council will continue to discuss actually post-session through next year whether there needs to be more where there needs to be broader changes in the open meeting law that would maybe allow even more flexibility outside of a pandemic for meetings and commissions. So, but for right now, the focus is on codifying the budget language that we currently have. So that really are the major changes to our policies for this year. I'm happy to answer any questions or take take comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy. Questions from anybody? Just, it's only 5 of us. So if you have, or actually it's just 4, but so if you have questions, just pipe in.
Well, I will just note quickly about the flexibility for virtual meetings for public bodies that we've had this discussion to some extent at MVTC. We also talked about it at VRE. And I know there is a NVRC letter circulating. Virginia Municipal League has taken a position on support too. So the whole alphabet soup of regional bodies. We're just actually sending off a note to my colleagues about including it in our own legislative package. For what it's worth, I do think there is, or I know rather, there is support from some of these other regional groups for flexibility to hold meetings electronically that are accessible to the public, not just when health and safety concerns are present. And one of the other topics that's emerged that I think is possibly more straightforwardly supportable, I guess, is the idea to consider giving local and regional bodies the ability to set their own policies around member participation electronically. As I think you all know, we are limited in the Code of Virginia to participating in just 2 meetings a year for personal reasons, which also includes work sessions, as well as formal meetings of the body and committee meetings. So, I know there is definitely some interest in removing that prohibition in state codes and essentially letting regional groups or local governing bodies adopt their own policies. I don't know if we'd be interested in including something like that, but I think we have some model language from VML and VRE that I could try to rustle up if others are.
And I will chime in that I absolutely know those discussions are going on, and the FOIA Council has heard those requests. their last meeting, and again, they're meeting again later this month or early December. I can't remember
Thursday
which.
at 2 p.m.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Is the members of the open meeting subcommittee, at least when they met earlier, they seem to be reluctant to move to the next level. But they understand that there's a lot of interest in doing that. And again, let's face it, the experience we've all had under COVID has shown that you can have open, transparent, accessible meetings. And there's certainly something to be said for being able to broaden participation in the public process by, maybe using electronic or virtual meetings as an addition to the in-person. So I think they'll get there. I really do. I just don't know whether it's something that they're comfortable with moving forward in this General Assembly session. But I completely agree with what you said, that there's just been growing support that says, hey, look what we were able to do it, and everybody had access. In fact, we probably had way more access. Just that, and certainly in public hearings and public comment periods, I think every organization has just seen dramatically more engagement from the community because of being able to use these platforms. So, it's the will of the committee. I can certainly broaden our statement to speak to the FOIA Council, taking a look at a more structural flexibility for organizations to be able to use virtual meetings in addition to what they're already doing.
So first of all, I would associate myself with Ms. Crystal's comments, even though she made up some phrases there that are not in the English language yet, but I'm sure they're going to get there.
I was trying to be diplomatic and couldn't find the right word.
But you know what, Tracy, I would wonder, is the hesitation literally we haven't done it before, thus we can't do it? Because what we just showed is that it can be done. What exactly is the hesitation?
I actually think the hesitation is you have one camp that essentially says we want flexibility to use these electronic platforms as additions to in-place meetings. What they've heard is there's also a second group that wants to actually replace in-place, at least some in-place meetings with virtual, and that's as you can understand, that's a different request than we want to have flexibility and do more, but not have them replace. And so they're as a body, which as you all, if you follow the FOIA Council, they don't move very quickly on things like this. They're going to have to reconcile those two requests that they're getting.
Thank you. Anybody else have questions for?
Yeah, I think there's also a core philosophical objection that you're running into on the FOIA Council, and I mean I think there is a feeling that that there is some diminished access by having a virtual meeting. I don't necessarily agree with that contention, but that is the philosophical barrier that you're running into. There is a feeling that they need to be able to see everyone, the communication that's going on, someone picking their nose, anything needs to be fully publicly accessible to everyone watching. So, can I just throw one thing out, and it's hyper technical, but it's had some ambiguity for us. So in the language that they passed in the budget amendment, they included some language in there that says, and I think it was boilerplate they took from somewhere else, but it says that for these meetings that are used under that authority, you have to allow public comment.
Interesting.
And a lot of city and county attorneys around the Commonwealth have just been blissfully ignoring that language. But it does say it. And so I don't know that that's the intent that they meant, that every single meeting that you have under that authority that's virtual has to have public comment, but that's the way it reads right now. And so I'll give you an example. For example, on the Alexandria side, we are doing that for every single meeting we have. We don't advertise it, and we hope that most people won't take us up on it at every single meeting, but it is available. And so it probably is something that needs to be tweaked a little bit. I'm not sure the best way to arrive at that language, but that's what's going on there. So just FYI.
No, that's very helpful. I had not heard that, and you're right. That shouldn't be in there actually, because you all have a public hearing or a public comment specified time, but not every meeting necessarily. So that is certainly something we'll have to work on getting cleaned up when we see the bill. Absolutely.
It's unclear whether that was compromise, that was a way to try to make that go down with the folks who were concerned about the open government, or if it was just an inadvertent.
Right. Yeah. And there was certainly a difference between the original language that NVTC and Amy and others had worked up that Delegate Sullivan had put in, and then what the administration ended up putting in. It was it got morphed a little. So thank you for that. We will certainly look out for that and try to get that to go away.
So Tracy, I have a question. Do you feel like that can we scroll back up so I can see the 3 bullet points? Do you feel like, well, that was too far, but anyway, never mind. Do you feel like the discussion that the right there, stop right there. Oh gosh. Protect dedicated revenue source and powers of the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority. Do you feel like that's strong enough language? Because I've talked before about having language in this kind of kill switch language that says that there has to be some higher bar to take money out of the authority. So I don't see that here. What I see here is protect the dedicated revenue source. Do you see that as the same thing, and you think that's strong enough language?
If we were proposing language this year, we could do it under this heading because it would be to protect us, but we're not, as far as I know, have language together that we think will legally work that would allow us to not go after us. Certainly, it's one of the things that we want to address when we make when we're back to proactively asking for our remaining 32. Part of that will be, again, we've got to work on finding a legal structure that actually has teeth that will allow that to work. The challenge has been trying to find within the Constitution a way that we can affect succeeding General Assemblies.
Well, the thing is, okay, so we know that any General Assembly, if they work hard enough, can overturn something from a past General Assembly, but we want to make them work a little harder to do it. So are we saying that we have tried to find the legal language to get there and we just can't figure out what to do? Or are we saying that we haven't even attempted to find the language to put in that would have, and my term is a kill switch. You had actually had a different term last year when we talked about this. So is it we can't find the language and we've tried, or we haven't tried to get the language together?
We haven't tried in the last 10 months to specifically put pen to paper on that, knowing that we weren't going to be physically asking for the additional money at this time. Now we can try to do it as a standalone and try to come up with some language, but I've always thought of connecting that with our last bit of money.
Well, so it feels like if we're going to do it, this year might be the year to do it. I mean, of course we have our General Assembly members are very supportive of the authority, and I can say that in the past that probably wasn't true. I mean, in fact, the General Assembly member that we had was actually the one that killed the authority money. Right? He was. So now we have General Assembly members so supportive. We have Ms. Watts and others. So it feels like if there's a time to do that, it's now, especially with all the other talk about other transportation services being revenue short. It just feels like if we're going to protect our money, we should do that now if we can find language to get there. I do understand it could be hard to find that language. And I also understand that it may not be language available that will not allow a successive General Assembly to climb over. But I would make it harder for them to do that. Because even with this language we have right here, it wouldn't be that hard to do this again, to take money out of us again.
Well, again, this is a position. It's not meant to be language. This basically says that it is important to the authority.
Yeah, I get that. I'm saying I want to find language is what I'm saying to you.
Okay. We'll work on it. I want us to have language that actually would mean something.
Sure. Well, sure. But I have been mentioning this now for a year.
Right, and there hasn't come up a legal way to do it that would actually do something. But we'll go back to
Well,
the drawing board
Then
and
that
try
goes back to
again.
my previous question. Have we not been able to find language that will get us there? Because that's a whole nother issue. If we've tried to find language that would get us there and it's just not available,
Right.
versus we haven't really tried yet.
Well, we haven't put language that we've thought about and drafted in front of legislators to get their response. So that part has not been done.
Okay, I understand. I would like us to try to find language that we could put on legislators.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Well, I'll just add in, maybe if we have a legislator who's specifically very supportive of us, they can suggest the language that we would put in, because how would they approach it if it's someone who's very supportive of us?
I mean, having Miss Watts with us now is wonderful. I mean, she could be very helpful, and she may be able to tell us if it's literally can't be done, and I can hear that too. But I don't want us to assume it can't be done before we try.
Okay.
So,
The other thing I was going to talk about is that because of the very different, although it doesn't seem so different anymore, way that we're going about the General Assembly session is likely going to be primarily remote. We are going to create a one-page, nice-looking one-pager that summarizes the highlights of where we've been, where we are now, and our key priorities for the year. That was also forwarded to you guys, but just something that will make pretty and distribute that so that you and your liaisons and your other members would have available to share with members of the General Assembly as well as the authority.
have they decided how they're meeting? Have they made some decisions about how they're meeting?
Not publicly, but what we're hearing is that the Senate will once again meet in person for at least their 4 sessions in the Science Museum. The House hasn't formally said it, but I'm suspecting that they'll continue to do remotely, particularly if the numbers aren't any better than they are right now come January.
Okay.
And it's unclear how much access the public will have to the Pocahontas, which is where their offices are.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's unfortunate, but yeah, that makes sense. Because I was hearing the same thing about the Senate building, but that the House was actually going to try to meet in public. What about you all? What have you heard? Anything? No?
Yeah, nothing definitive. I think they're having a lot of discussions. Everyone's asking them, so they know it's important to people.
Yeah,
You know what's interesting to look at you guys, Katie? You know what? Never play poker, Katie. You have the most expressive face ever. I mean, everything comes. Never play poker, Katie.
Forgive me, I am editing a document as we speak on the topic we were just discussing.
I'd say the worst part is she's not paying attention to us.
I am paying attention. I'm just.
This is why we need the meetings to be in person. So
Or two and work while we're
What is Katie doing?
There's
It's
also
like,
been turning bright red.
That's so not fair.
all right. So, Justin, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I believe we talked about this at our council meeting on Tuesday night, and I believe the speaker was asked this a couple days ago, and she said they had not yet decided, but I think what Tracy's heard is what I've heard, is that it's likely going to be virtual on the House side. So
I think that made their session longer. It'll go faster. They all have to go down there.
totally agree.
Okay. All right. Do you need anything else from us, Ms. Bainer?
Nope, I'm all good.
And you guys are good. So just so everyone knows, another subject tonight is Hal's last formal meeting. I have cards here. I'm going to sign from the authority, since you guys can't all come in and sign. And then we have some other things we're going to give Hal tonight. Okay. He is coming in, right, Monica? Okay. All right.
Is he missing the December meeting?
I don't, Monica, do you know about that?
I don't know.
We don't know. Maybe we can try to find out. I don't know.
It was surely curiosity.
Me too.
Mm.
Me too. All right. Anything else? No? All right. Well, then we are adjourned. I'll see you all in an hour.